that I'm seeing right now, but there's some little hot spots here that may end up producing some rotation. So again, we have these tornado warnings that are in effect for another 20 minutes, but I'll tell you, I think straight line winds, quite frankly, especially into northwestern Rock County, is more of a concern at this point, and that could roll into Lake Koshkonong here shortly as well. I think that's more of a concern than the tornado threat. Now, I mean, 67 miles per hour there. Now, that doesn't mean to get out of your tornado safe location. You need to stay there until this expires, because these could pop up again. But at least as of right now, I'm not seeing anything too concerning. But I will tell you, these storms, the environment has a history of producing some intense winds. And we saw that back in New Glarus with a roof half ripped off. We have seen that in Dane and Dodge counties with significant tree damage up into the Ripon area as well. And I think that's continuing likely here tonight. So if it's not the tornado element of it, it's the severe thunderstorm element of it, with some winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour per radar estimates that we are seeing right now. So let's loop this again, Rob, because the other thing I want to point out, and watch the clock here as we loop this. So this is over the course of the last hour. And the difference maker here is this is the cold front. And the cold front is moving east, unlike the storms that came through earlier. And I hope the folks, I heard from folks on social media saying, you said it was going to rain, it didn't rain tonight. I hope they didn't go to bed, because the storms are on the way. This is the final line. Those other storms missed Milwaukee to the north, but these storms are making more of an eastward progress. You can see how in the last frame, it's right around to Janesville, and it was back into Greene County an hour prior to that. So the eastward movement right now is roughly 35 to maybe 40 miles per hour. And so that's going to put these storms into Milwaukee by a little after midnight. So it's going to be about an hour before these come in here, maybe a little more than that, maybe hour and a half. So these storms will make it to Lake Michigan once they cross. Then we will be in the clear through the night. But it's 82 on our Fox 6 weather deck at nearly 11 o'clock at night. So there's enough energy, enough heat, enough humidity in the atmosphere to keep these storms going. But again, and that's perfect to do a quick storm track here. And this should show, yep, Milwaukee at about 12:15, Waukesha 11:45 to 11:50, Whitewater much closer than that. Whitewater, you're actually just on the edge of that tornado warning, and that's going to be with you here in about the next 6 or 7 minutes as this makes its way in. But again,
based on an eastern movement of about 40 miles per hour is how that calculation is being done.
Perfect. And
that's pretty quick.
The cells themselves are moving northeast. But again, with the whole line moving east, it may be that this segment of the storm hits Milwaukee more so than, let's say, what's going on over Jefferson County, which may translate closer to West Bend, if that makes sense. So there's a lot kind of going on with these systems here. And again, we've got we're going to see the sweep come through. So we're going to see this update now. And so the cells are right over Fort Atkinson. Let's go back, Rob, to the storm relative velocity, if we could, and see if we end up seeing anything concerning it. It actually looks like along that boundary farther north, there was a little something. Not too concerned with that, though, because that's not associated with that.
Here we go.
We have another one coming out here.
I think this is just the watch being continued. That's what.
Yeah, and I think they're dropping it off to the west.
All right. So
yeah,
there you go. So some improvement there.
Yep. So what they're doing, if you want to go back, if you want to go to the watch warning graphic real quick.
The update.
So we still have the severe thunderstorm, or the tornado watch, excuse me, until midnight. That's for everyone. Our counties are all still in this. However, the western counties are starting to be dropped. So Columbia, Green Lake, Marquette are all being dropped. And that's an indicator here that once you get beyond to the west of the cold front, the storms are done, because you have the air, instead of rising ahead of the front, it's sinking. So that's a sign that this will eventually come to an end. It's going to be coming to an end in Milwaukee probably by about 1 o'clock in the morning. But these two tornado warnings are continuing until 11:15. So about another 15 minutes, so you need to be in your shelter. Again, I know it's been a long night for Jefferson and Dodge counties in particular, Fond du Lac County as well. And again, these are weak areas of rotation. So I don't want you to be too concerned that it's going to be a huge wedge tornado or something like that. It's not. I think that these areas are somewhat weakened along the line, but I think the bigger concern is the strong straight line winds coming out of the storm. And I mean, look at this. So here's Lake Mills, and here you have that truck rolling on by, and we just looked at this a few minutes ago, and it still looks just as bad, to be honest with you, with all of those strong winds blowing right across there. And you'll see as the next truck pulls up that you can just see the rain blowing right across there. So,
and Lake Mills, according to the velocity reading here, not even in some of the strongest wind gusts, like you were saying, that northwestern corner of Rock County and now southeastern portions of Dane County. Just seeing some incredible straight line wind reports there. Indications.
Let's go back to the warnings.
Okay.
So it looks like they just dropped one, if not both. Let's see. Okay, they dropped the one warning, so that included Lake Mills. That one has been dropped. We still have the warning in effect, Fort Atkinson and points to the southwest until 11:15. So, Rob, that's at least some good news, right? That we're starting to see that.
And of course, that tornado warning is then kind of flanked, if you will, by severe thunderstorm warnings to the north that goes through to 11:30 for the remainder of Jefferson County, southern portions of Dodge County, and then down into Rock County. You've got that severe thunderstorm warning as well through until 11:30. And the watch is still in place for our entire viewing area, but as Tom pointed out, there is some improvement by dropping some of the counties a little farther off to the west. So we'll enjoy that one little win there.
Right. And so, again, I think this is really going to turn into more of a strong wind event out of this, more so than a tornado event. However, still a chance for some of these brief spin-up tornadoes. So if you are in Jefferson, if you are in Johnson Creek, if you're in Lake Ripley or Lake Mills, you're good. You're good to go. You are out of the tornado warning, but you are still experiencing those strong winds. So that's kind of the weird thing with this is that, you think the tornado warning goes away and, oh, I'm all good. Well, it's not really the case here because of the strong straight line winds coming out of it. So really a severe thunderstorm warning, almost as dangerous as a tornado warning with this. And I know a lot of times we kind of blow off the severe thunderstorm warnings and say, not a big deal. But that's not the case here because of the strong winds coming out of the storm. So make sure to take those just as seriously here as well. So, and I think that what we're likely seeing, if there is some rotation here, I think it's going to be probably right over the Lake Koshkonong area, that little notch just about to push into Fort Atkinson. Again, no reports of tornadoes, but this is a radar indicated tornado that is making its way into southwestern Jefferson County. And I think Madison, they could almost really drop the watch for as well now, as they're just about out of it. I mean, that's how close this is to coming to an end in Jefferson County. But I think, this is the area here. And again, Highway 12 coming down at a good clip right now. And let's take a look at the storm relative velocity, if we could here quick. And looks like, not a lot. I'm not seeing a lot to write home about. Let's switch over to the regular velocity, and I think you're going to see some pretty strong winds.
Those are really
there you
pumped.
go. I think that's going to be the concern coming into Fort Atkinson is going to be not so much the rotation. There you see 58-mile-per-hour gusts, maybe as high as 65. So you're just not dealing with the rotation end of it, but you're going to have strong straight-line winds coming out the front line of the storm there, up to 75. If that were to be realized, again, keep in mind we're looking at it aloft, but if that were to be realized or translated to the ground, that would be some pretty intense winds, and there's the sweep. So you can see the update. And again, those strong winds are heading right into the Fort Atkinson area. So I would imagine they're going to let this tornado warning ride until 11:15.
Sure.
And then, at least because the rotational components have come to an end, they may let that go. Let's go back to radar, because now that the line is starting to sink into western portions of Jefferson County, and you'll notice over the course of the last hour that it's made its way from roughly the Madison area all the way into Fort Atkinson. So there is that eastward progress, again, 35, 40 miles per hour. So that's going to put it into the Waukesha area over the course of the next hour, and then about an hour after that, I would say roughly, I would say probably 12:30 more so into Milwaukee. So it's going to progress east down the interstate. We'll do that storm track to kind of give you a general idea of when these storms are going to hit. And midnight, maybe a little bit later than that, depending on the forward speed. I would say probably closer to 12:15, 12:30 into Milwaukee. 12:30 to 1 o'clock, Racine and Kenosha. And then after 1 o'clock, things start to come to an end. Sheboygan, interesting night for you in Sheboygan. You had that tornado warning with no rain. Because it moved to your north. You did have some gusty winds. We did have a little bit of wind damage reported in Plymouth, but
we're getting some reports of flooding at Beaver Dam too.
Okay.
The heavy rain with this, as we just saw on that live camera from Lake Mills, is not to be ignored as well. So reports of flooding in some of the city streets in Beaver Dam. Dodge County hit hard by this. Lots of reports of trees down. Now some flooding in the area. Not surprised, because they had heavy rain yesterday up in Dodge County as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Flooding, I think, is going to be somewhat of a concern. But good news, Beaver Dam, within the next 15, 20 minutes, you're going to be done. So you're going to be looking forward to that. But it has been a damaging night in Dodge County. And there you can, literally just miles west of Beaver Dam, it's done. So you're almost done, all right? I know it's been a rough one for you guys tonight. And again, Mayville, you still have a ways to go, probably another 30, 40 minutes, and then you'll be done with that. As we look down towards Janesville here, you see that strong cell in the northern part of the county there. Again, they're under that tornado warning on the north side of Janesville, stretching up to Fort Atkinson. So let's take a look at a live camera here. Again, this is Interstate 90, and there you can see the heavy rain that continues to fall. Let's see if, again, we're looking to the northeast here.
Oh, look at the flash.
Okay, so it's between Janesville and Lake Koshkonong. Yep, now you can, when the lights come by, you can really see the heavy rain that's pushing on through. And again, they're kind of right in the core of one of these thunderstorms as well, with a lot of lightning making its way on through. And again, so it does appear as well. Let's go back over to the radar, because we did just get confirmation from the National Weather Service that this is indeed the outflow boundary coming out of the storms. And this is one of the triggering mechanisms for rotation. So that's one of the reasons why we are seeing the tornado warning continue in this area, is because this is a boundary, like a little frontal boundary, so to speak. And when you get the storm interacting with that, it can cause a little bit of rotation. So that's why we're seeing that. However, the one farther to the north, as that moved a bit north, it came off of the boundary, so it no longer exhibited the rotation. So that's why we're seeing that. So we'll likely see this tornado warning for another 9 minutes, and then we'll see if they release it. They very well might, because we're not seeing a lot of rotation along it, but there is still that threat because it's along the boundary. Now, Rob, if we go back to the radar, there was another cell, if you noticed here, just popping up south of Janesville. Yep, and that one's starting to perk up a little bit as well and ride to the north. Yeah,
I wonder if we can bring up, we have a live camera down in Beloit that's part of our Weather Vision cameras. I don't know if anybody can bring that up for us. We should be able to draw on that as well. That live camera is probably going to pick up on some of this heavy rain momentarily, and of course the wind, like you've been talking about. If we look to our velocity there, those bright blue shaded areas indicating, and the dark blue shaded areas for that matter, all indicating some very strong wind speeds there, gusts in
right
the 50,
along the line. Yep.
55, 60 miles an hour. So definitely seeing some strong wind gusts to go along with this rain, which of course then makes it that wind-driven rain an additional challenge, obviously, for anybody who happens to be out driving in this at the time.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So let's go back to the radar, and maybe we'll pan down just a little bit, because I want to see if we have any additional development. And yeah, I mean, here you go.
It's a little more broken. It is a little more bad.
It's a little more broken, but it's also still concerning, just given that it's right along the front itself. And so, yeah, we'll see as these continue to move northeast. Again, the entire line moving east. We're hoping here within the next hour and a half to be done completely with this. But again, I think the tornado warning will likely be let go here. The question is, as this outflow boundary, that green line...
We've expired the tornado warning for Dane County.
Okay, that's good news.
And then Jefferson and Rock as well. Let me bring that up right now. They're okay now.
Yeah, so they'll expire that at 11:15.
Well, they expired at 11:15.
Yep, so that is good news.
That is good news.
The question will be, though, if along this outflow boundary, if we see more storms kind of fire out ahead of it, because again, it is still so warm outside that we could continue to see more cells fire along it. So what we're going to do, we're going to stay on with you until expiration here, and then just keeping in mind that we still have very strong winds potentially over 60 miles per hour, then what we'll do is we'll release the programming, we'll let you go, but then we'll continue to monitor this obviously and probably be breaking in again with more severe weather coverage as we still have warnings that will likely continue into Waukesha and likely Walworth counties. You'll probably be next here with severe thunderstorm warnings, but again, we'll see what happens with that outflow boundary. There's also a chance here that this part of the line in Dodge County may start to weaken a little bit, at least that's the hope, as it continues to trek towards West Bend. We have a Johnson Creek camera that would be great to take. Again, this is right around Interstate 94, Johnson Creek, and you can see again the lightning is really vivid here coming in, and still some heavy rain along the interstate as well. Johnson Creek is out of the tornado warning, so that is good news, but quite a bit of lightning and heavy rain out of this as well. It still may have some strong straight line winds at times with this. But here we are at 11:10, and again, we had 2 tornado warnings in effect for Jefferson County. That has been trimmed down to 1, and that is soon to be 0 in 5 minutes. But again, even if the tornado warning expires, which we're expecting it to at 11:15, that doesn't mean the weather is suddenly over. The overarching threat here tonight will be strong straight line winds coming out of the front of the storm, and that's why you're seeing the rain blowing the way it is over Interstate 94 tonight, and of course a lot of lightning and heavy rain as well.
Frequency of that lightning. We've had some pretty good hail reports along with this as well, and again some localized flooding. If we want to switch back over to radar and take a look at, just put the timing back up on there, just as you were talking about with that 12:15, 12:19, I think on this it says right over Milwaukee. That eastern motion has finally picked up with this for so long. You and Steph were on the air for 2 hours straight, and it barely made any motion to the east. It was almost, due north or north-northeast. So this line is finally generating some west to east, although it's still taking its time getting into the metro areas.
Right. And at least this is showing some eastward progress. So I think what this means is this is finally going to be the end, right? This is finally going to be the end of the storms. We'll see what the intensity looks like here over the course of the next hour as it approaches Milwaukee County. But we still have a little ways to go before it gets here. Hopefully we'll see a weakening trend in it. We're not seeing that now. But again, Beaver Dam, where you have just had a night tonight with the storms, the rain is just, the end of that rain is just crossing 151. So that is good news for you, but we still have the heavy rain continuing up into hard-hit Fond du Lac County as well. This is going to be making its way right into West Bend over the course of the next 20 minutes or so as more thunder comes rumbling for you, and then Port Washington thereafter into portions of Random Lake, the Belgium area, and up into Sheboygan as well with time. But again, we are 3 minutes out from that tornado warning expiring, so I think it's safe to say now you can come out of your tornado safe location as this is expiring, which is good. Let's take a look at the storm relative velocity one more time just to make sure that we're not seeing anything too concerning. Let's zoom in just a little bit around here. Yeah, I don't see anything like I did earlier. I mean, when it was in southeastern Dane County, there was a little bit of alarm there, which is what caused the tornado warning to be issued. But now I think it's more of a straight line wind event as this continues to move to the east. So I do think we will have some more severe thunderstorm warnings to continue off and on here over the course of at least the next hour as this rolls down Interstate 94. Tornado warnings still cannot be ruled out because, again, it's interacting with that outflow boundary. Of course, if we have any of those, we will cut in and do continuous coverage once again. But the good news is at least that this tornado warning is going to expire here in 2 minutes. The tornado watch, I think that's the next thing to watch for us here as that expires in 45 minutes. And my guess at this point would be that they're probably going to extend that by about an hour until the storms actually move out. I think Madison will be dropped soon down towards Monroe, but I think you almost have to continue that until the storms move out. So we'll keep you posted on that as well. That'll be a decision also made by the the National Weather Service office there in Sullivan. So we'll continue to watch this, but strong thunderstorms. This one's getting stronger right down at the split here south of Janesville around Beloit. So we're going to have to watch this for you folks in Walworth County very carefully, as that thing is going to be coming up right up Interstate 43 or a little bit to the north towards Darien. So we're going to have to watch this one as it's pulling out of Beloit, see what happens there. But again, it's still going to be a bit stormy as this continues to move off to the east. So once again, this is the final line of storms. I know folks in Milwaukee and parts of Waukesha County and Racine, Kenosha, Walworth are going, we didn't get much in the way of storms tonight, although you did have some gusty winds at times. This is the final line coming through. It's been a very interesting night from a weather perspective because these were really forming almost on top of us, and then the storm motion was moving to the northeast, and now we have the final line coming through. So some areas didn't see anything. Some areas saw multiple waves of severe weather with some intense damage in our western communities, and I think a lot of us will get in on some rumbles here as we head through the next hour or so, and then we'll quiet down later into the overnight. Rob, any additional reports here before we hang it up for this one?
I see someone at the National Weather Service typing, so I'm just waiting for it to come through on the chat here, but I think we're seconds away from seeing our warning expire as they announced that they would do. I don't see that changing. But we're always watching that chat. And I think it's important to point out, too, Tom, that, you know, as you said, some areas got hit hard and repeatedly. And almost every category of severe weather represented with this, the frequent lightning, large hail, heavy rain, flooding, wind, both straight and tornadic potentially, was all represented within this storm.
Poof. Gone. So that is gone now at 11:15, and we will keep you posted. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for Jefferson County until 11:30 for strong straight line winds. With that, let's get you back to regular programming. You can find us online as well. We will be monitoring this all throughout the night until the line passes. Stay tuned for updates. Let's get you back to regular programming.